Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Wet Paint NYC podcast. I'm Paul Zepeda and I'll be your host. I'm coming to you from the studio in beautiful Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. It's a sunny early spring day here today, and I sit here alone as I speak to you. And I think that for this first podcast, that's actually quite fitting because the artist's life is at many points a solitary one, especially when it comes to the actual act of creating. You know, there's a lot of time that may be spent alone in the studio working out ideas or working on creative processes. And so, as I said, the artist's life can oftentimes be a solitary one. But it's great to share with you today. As I said, we're in the studio, and that is both my painting studio and now recording studio and office and everything else that it needs to be for me to work as a professional artist. So, little description of the studio for you here. It's smaller than what most people might think of when they think of a Brooklyn artist studio. It's not the loft, the huge loft scenario, refurbished warehouse type thing that you might see in movies, but it works for me. It's actually a small bedroom in a 2-bedroom apartment that I've converted into the office and studio and painting workspace. And that's actually the way that I've always done it for the most part. It certainly cuts down on commute time when you live and work in the same space. And so that's how I'm doing it. I have 1 bedroom of a 2-bedroom apartment here in Brooklyn. And around me are a few finished paintings, but mostly it is works in progress. So say they're maybe 3/4 of the way finished, or some are in very early sketching stages, that kind of thing. There's a lot of bold colors in these works, oil paintings for the most part, with gold and copper and silver leaf mixed in there as well. And that's pretty indicative of my work. I sometimes also work in oxidation, which is rust and patina on canvas, which has its own particular look to that too, and I will tell you more about that later. But just a little bit more about me as an artist. I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico, but I have lived as something of a nomadic artist, and I moved around a lot for various reasons, but often chasing that ever elusive lifestyle of being a successful professional artist. So as I said, I'm originally from the Southwest, and I've lived all over Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, Connecticut, Idaho, and of course now I am in New York, where I have been for the past several years. I am what is often, referred to as a self-taught artist. So I basically learned from looking in books and picking up things along the way, going to shows, meeting, say, other artists or creative folks of different types, and taking in inspiration from them and trying to mold it into my own sort of thing. And I started out at a young age and was actually fortunate enough, through a sort of a funny story, to sell out of galleries before I was even really able to get a driver's license and that kind of thing. So many years later, here we are. It has been a heck of a ride, and it's one that I'm still on. So many stories to come as far as that goes. So as I said, I've been in New York for a few years now, and it has been quite amazing. I've done things that have exceeded my wildest expectations, and have had a heck of a lot of fun doing it. But it's also been a lot of work, many ups and downs, much heartache, as well as much joy. And so, like I said, that leads to many stories that I hope to share with you in future podcasts. Wet Paint NYC. Why is this called the Wet Paint NYC podcast? Well, Wet Paint NYC is something that I started. I had the idea for it several years ago, I started about 3 or 4 years ago officially launching the site wetpaintnyc.com, which I like to refer to as an evolved gallery site, an evolved art gallery site. I call it that because we don't have just one physical location at this for this gallery, in fact, we don't have a specific physical location for this gallery. We have our online presence, which is sort of a typical online gallery where you can look at works, learn more about specific artists, request more details, purchase works if you like, and even purchase reproductions, prints on canvas, prints on paper, prints on metal, that kind of thing, and have those delivered right to your door. But we also have a virtual gallery that allows you, kind of like a video game, it allows you to walk through a virtual gallery space and see various works of art by different artists to scale, so you can see like the actual size that they would be relative to you, say for like your, on your living room wall or wherever it may be. So we offer those two experiences, and then we also offer in-person experiences, whether it be through arranging studio visits with artists where you can see where their creative process takes place, and possibly purchase paintings directly through them or commission original works of art, and also through live events where we have artists do live painting events, or your typical gallery or space curation of artworks, paintings, sculptures, that kind of thing that we can put into, private spaces, public spaces, commercial spaces, that kind of thing. So Wet Paint NYC, as I said, is an evolved gallery idea that I put together in order to share works by artists from around the world who I admire, who don't necessarily have the same platform that many other quote-unquote more famous artists may have. So it's sort of a do-it-yourself kind of thing from one artist to another, so that we can share our works with the rest of the world. So that's a little bit about me and Wet Paint NYC, and I hope you'll join me for future episodes where I'll go into more details about my life as a nomadic artist, my work in film and television, as well as stories of adventures from around the world from myself and other creative folks. And if you'd like to see some videos in the meantime, check out our YouTube channel at Wet Paint NYC 1. That's Wet Paint NYC and then the number 1 on YouTube. I look forward to sharing more with you soon, and I hope you have a great one.